So last night, my prediction for the Bengals was 15-2 or 14-3. Well, Draftkings released their odds today on their sportsbook site for the spreads of every single game. Newsflash, the Bengals are favored in almost every single game. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Starting off right away, first game of the season in Cleveland, in the crap hole known as Cleveland, Ohio. The Bengals are favored by 2.5 points. So how the spreads work is pretty much when you start the game off, the Bengals are starting off with 0 points while the Browns start off at 2.5 points. So like, for example, the Bengals have to win by a field goal or more to cover the spread. So the final score, if the Bengals don't win by at least 2.5 points, they win by 1 point or 2 points, then the house wins and you lose your bet. So that's how it works, right? So they're favored by 2.5 points. So they're favored by a field goal pretty much in Cleveland in the opening game. Now, me personally, I think this is going to easily be the Bengals win this game. I got a feeling like we're just going to embarrass the Browns, the clowns. We're going to embarrass them like crazy. So I kind of have that feeling. But nonetheless, though, yes, the opening game is, surprisingly enough, going to be a really freaking crazy game. Nonetheless, though, week 2. This is the home opener where Baltimore comes to the jungle to play the Bengals. Bengals are favored by 3.5 points. Now, this is really not surprising at all. It is a home opener. It is Baltimore, which AFC North matchups, usually you don't get a 3.5 point, favorite. Usually you get like a 2 or 2.5 point. Sometimes down to 1 or half a point, depending on what the game is. But it's early in the season. This is the first time Bengals are playing at home this season. Baltimore comes to Cincinnati. 3.5 points. That is pretty much saying that the Bengals are going to have to win by a touchdown or more to cover the spread. So Vegas thinks this is going to be the Bengals win by at least a touchdown. Interesting. Next game, week 3. Rams. Bengals favored by 7 points. See, once you get into 7, 10, 15 point territories, that's when it gets really tricky when it comes to betting, but also tricky when it comes to, how much Vegas thinks of that team. So, for example, if we go back to week 2, right, we had the Raiders at Bills game, and that was 8.5 points. The Bills was favored by. Right here, we got 7 points. Now, I think, in all honesty, this is going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be 28-7, and we're going to blow out the Rams. It's going to be a joke, and for some reason, we don't know why this is a primetime game, but it's going to be a primetime game. That's kind of how I feel this is going to go. Vegas agrees with me, but whenever Vegas agrees with anything, usually that's when the opposite happens. Just saying. Knock on wood for that, but it's usually when the opposite happens. Tennessee. Bengals favored by 4.5 points versus Tennessee. So another situation where they think that the Bengals are going to win by at least a touchdown. So, okay. Interesting. I think this game will at least be a 10-point win, but it could be a closer game than we honestly think. This is a game where, the Bengals might get ahead early. The Titans come back in the end, and the Bengals just hold on and just win the game without, having to put any more pressure on the Titans. So this could be a game where it just ends up being, like a field goal win, pretty much. All right. Cardinals game, 7.5 points. Okay, so that's our biggest spread of the season so far. Now, keep in mind, this is going to be without Kyler Murray. So that's the big thing here. It's going to be Cardinals without Kyler Murray. Yes, Cincinnati has to travel all the way out to Arizona. And usually, you don't see that crazy spreads when a team has to travel. Like right there, you see the Eagles. They travel all the way across the country to the Rams, LA, and there's only a 4.5 point spread. When in reality, you think, the Eagles are going to destroy the Rams. Usually you don't get that kind of spread for a across-the-country type of game. But you know what? Cincy is actually that good. So with that being said, I don't like this spread. Because I feel like this game is going to be a game where the Bengals win, but they just don't score a lot. And I think it's going to be like a 14-3 type of game. I know that would cover the spread, but I could see at the last second, like, something crazy happen, like DeAndre Hopkins catches a crazy touchdown and makes it a 3-point game at the very last second. So I never bet anything above 7 points when it comes to the spread, but it is what it is. Interesting spread. Seattle, 4.5 points. I'm interested to see how good Seattle plays this year, because this spread might be really amazing spread-wise. Because if Seattle at this point, this is right before our bye week, if Seattle is also 5-0 going into this game, this could be a pretty dang good, this spread right here could be pretty dang good. Because this could be a competitive game. I think Bengals will easily beat the Seahawks, but I think this is going to be a competitive game. So, 4.5 is surprising to me, but not too surprising. Now, the first game the Bengals are not favored in, after the bye week, the 49ers. The 49ers are favored by 1 point at home. That is how good the Bengals actually are. The 49ers are favored by 1 point. And this is the first time this season that the Bengals are not favored in a game. Wow. Okay, so 1 point. I'll be honest with you, this game is so freaking on the fence for me. I don't know which, I think we're going to win. But then it's like, I could see the opposite point of view where something stupid happens, something crazy happens, and everything flips. So it's like, I'm so on the fence about this game. I don't know about this game. I say we win, but it's going to be close. Bills game. Bills, the Bengals are favored by 1 point. Most likely why the reason why, by the way, the 49ers are favored by 1 is really, they sometimes do this. If the game is close enough where both teams are kind of evenly matched, they usually just give it to the home team. And they give it by 1 point because they're like, listen, we don't know how this game's going to go, so we're just going to give the home team 1 point. Or minus 1 point. We're going to take away 1 point from the home team. But this game, I think, honestly, I kind of have a weird feeling. This is a night game. I have a weird feeling that this game's going to be like a 35-28 type of game. And I feel like it's going to be like the last person with the ball wins the game. I think the Bengals will win, but I think it will be the last person with the ball wins the game. Texans game, 9.5 points. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. This is late in the season. So at this point, CJ Stroud will at least have some, power to him. He'll at least have some, wins under his belt and know what he's doing to some extent. So I really think this could be a closer game than we are letting on right away. I think this game is going to be probably a 30-20 type of game. Maybe a 23, I say. 30-23 type of game. And I fully think that will happen in the fourth quarter where the Bengals just kind of slow up a little bit. They're kind of just cruise control. And that's when the Texans come back a tad bit. They don't win, but they have a last touchdown with 10 seconds left and they try an onside kick. So I think this game could be a lot closer, especially later in the season. It really depends on how good CJ Stroud actually ends up being. But it's very possible that game, 9.5 points, is a lot to give at the end of the season like that. Ravens, they are not favored. No, they are favored. Wow, Cincinnati is favored in Baltimore on Thursday Night Football by minus 1 point. Like I said before, this is not common. Usually you see the home team gets favored in the situation. But instead, it is the Bengals who are favored by 1 point in Baltimore. That is honestly crazy. Pittsburgh at the Jungle, 4.5 points is favored by the Bengals here. Yeah, that's not surprising. Again, like I said, it's an AFC North battle, so I'm kind of surprised that it's such a high number because AFC North. Usually Bengals Steelers game kind of usually come down 3 to 5 points. But you know what? That's actually not too insanely crazy. Jacksonville, the Bengals are favored by 1 point on Monday night in Jacksonville. Hey, listen. It's going to be a good game, Jacksonville. It's going to be a good game. This could go either way. That's another game that could go either way. And then the Colts game, the Bengals are favored by 9 points. Wow. Listen, I mean, if we're obviously what we're doing right now, just going based off last year, we're not going based off this year, right? Because obviously this year we don't know what's going to happen. But if Anthony Richardson becomes a goon, This could really change quickly. All right, the Bengals are favored by 5 points to Minnesota Vikings. I'll be honest with you, I think we win this game by like 14, 15 points. I have this weird feeling we do. Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. The Bengals are favored by 2.5 points. That is kind of what I expected it to be in the jungle for all the AFC North games. I mean, to go in Pittsburgh and be favored by 2.5, I don't really think the Squealers are that good right now, so I'm not going to be too against this concept, but that's still a little crazy. Kansas City Chiefs, the Chiefs are favored by 3.5 points. I think that's ridiculous. I honestly, this game should be a +1, -1. If you want to say, like, okay, well, they're playing in Burrowhead, so it's a -1 point, I would be like, okay, I'll give you that. But 3.5 points, I think that's a little ridiculous. I think the Bengals could easily cover that. I think they're going to win, but I think they're easily going to cover that. Browns game in, in Cincy, 4 points. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Like I said, 2.5, 3 points, kind of where I put AFC North battles at. This game, though, the last game of the season, I would probably hammer the Browns on this one with 4 points because of the fact that most likely the AFC North plus conference is locked up by the Bengals this time, and they're just going to rest their starters. Unless you really have confidence Trevor Siemian is going to out-freaking do the Browns like crazy. It's possible. Maybe Siemian just does that, what was that Packers guy who had the crazy game when Rodgers was out for one game? I forget his name, but he had like 4 touchdowns versus the Lions, but then Matthew Stafford was actually like really good. Yeah. Should be a great season, guys. Should be a freaking great season, but Vegas is definitely going pro Bengals. Not bad, though. Peace out, guys.